The sky over Earth had always been a canvas of possibility, but tonight it whispered a warning. Not in words, not in sounds, but in subtle tremors of light that even the most advanced satellites barely detected. Across the globe, a quiet unease settled over humanity. Few understood what it meant, but all felt it. In the city of Arden, perched on the edge of Pacific cliffs, Mira Kael stood at the panoramic window of her laboratory. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from the electric anticipation of discovery. She had been the first to notice the anomaly, tiny flashes in the void between stars, subtle distortions of light, almost like a wink. At first she dismissed it as equipment noise, but the data kept building, relentless, undeniable. Her assistant, a young and fiercely curious physicist named Elian Frost, hovered behind her. "Mira," he said, voice low, "these readings, they're off the charts. I've triple-checked the calibration. It's not us." Mira didn't look away from the stars. "Then it's them," she whispered. "It has to be them." Elian's eyes widened. "The what?" "You mean—" "Yes," Mira interrupted. "The civilizations beyond. We've always assumed they are too far to notice us, too far to care, but maybe they have been watching, waiting, testing, and maybe we've held back." The room fell silent. Outside, the waves crashed against the cliffs in rhythm with their racing hearts. Humanity had always prided itself on restraint tempered by morality, ethics, and fear of the unknown. But restraint in the face of the infinite was not always a virtue. Sometimes it was a shield that hid your true strength. Mira turned to face Elian fully. "If they knew what we could do," she said, her voice trembling with a mix of excitement and dread, "they would never have dared to approach us. They ignored us. Now it's only a matter of time before they regret it." Before Elian could respond, the sky shifted. A ribbon of iridescent light appeared above the Pacific, streaking across the horizon with impossible speed. Mira's instruments screamed with readings she had never seen. Particles of unknown origin, moving in patterns that defied physics, streaked through the atmosphere. "This isn't a test," Mira said, her voice firm now, hardened by understanding. "This is contact, and they're not friendly." At that very moment, millions across the planet looked up and saw the sky ignite in ways that were beautiful, terrifying, and incomprehensible. Children screamed in delight and fear. Scientists scrambled to understand. Governments issued statements that were empty, rehearsed, inadequate. And all the while, Mira and Elian knew the truth. Humanity was about to be tested, but not in ways anyone imagined. The first attack came without warning. It was subtle, almost elegant, a wave of energy that passed through satellites, cutting off communication, disrupting power grids, yet leaving no immediate casualties. A warning, precise and deliberate. The message was clear. Humanity was under observation, and defiance would have consequences. Still, Mira stood her ground, feeling a different truth deep in her bones. Humans had always survived against impossible odds. Every generation had faced extinction in one form or another: war, disease, disaster. And yet here they were, stronger, smarter, more adaptable than anyone or anything had anticipated. Elian touched her shoulder. "What do we do?" Mira smiled, a flash of fierce determination lighting her features. "We remind them what we've been holding back. We remind the stars that humanity is not a species to be underestimated." She turned to her instruments and tapped commands with practiced precision. Screens lit up, numbers danced, algorithms predicted trajectories, and every data point pointed to one inescapable truth. The universe had ignored Earth for millennia, believing it harmless. But now Earth would show the cost of that mistake. Beyond the lab, the world trembled. Ships at sea felt waves of unexplained energy. Airplanes altered courses mid-flight. Cities experienced flickers of power, moments when everything seemed to pause. And in those moments, people across the globe looked up, felt small, felt tiny, but also felt the heartbeat of their planet, strong, resilient, unstoppable. Mira closed her eyes, inhaling deeply, letting the sounds of the Pacific fill her senses. She could almost hear the pulse of humanity, rising, refusing to bow. She whispered to herself, "We were holding back." Not anymore. The whisper had become a roar. Humanity would answer. And when it did, the stars would see the full measure of what they had underestimated. For the first time in history, Earth was awake. And nothing, not distance, not fear, not impossible odds, would stop it from showing the universe its true strength. Dawn came slowly that morning, dragging light across a frightened world. For the first time in human history, sunrise didn't bring comfort. It brought dread. The night's strange auroras still shimmered faintly over the Pacific, and the world held its breath. People whispered prayers, soldiers readied weapons that suddenly felt useless, and scientists gathered around screens that blazed with data too strange to comprehend. Mira Kael hadn't slept. Her eyes were red, her voice raw, but her spirit burned brighter than ever. Across from her, Elian slumped against the wall, surrounded by cables, glowing monitors, and stacks of printouts filled with equations that shouldn't exist. "They're not attacking again," Elian said quietly. "It's been 9 hours. Maybe they just wanted to scare us." Mira shook her head slowly. "No, they're measuring us, studying our reaction. They want to know what kind of species we are before they decide what to do next." Elian frowned. "And what kind are we?" Mira turned toward him. Her reflection glimmered in the glass behind her, a face lined with exhaustion but eyes steady, alive with fire. "The kind that fights back," she said, "even when the odds make no sense." At that moment, the World Network came online again for the first time since the blackout. Every remaining satellite, military and civilian, was now connected through the Ethernet, a fail-safe protocol Mira herself had helped design years ago. It was meant for global communication in case of deep space interference. Nobody had ever needed it, until now. Within minutes, world leaders, generals, and scientists gathered in a digital council unlike anything before. Their voices filled the airwaves, broken, desperate, determined. They struck without warning. "We don't know what they want. Every attempt at contact failed. We must respond, or the world will fall into chaos." Mira listened, silent. Words meant little now. Fear filled the spaces between every breath, every sentence. Humanity stood at the edge of something ancient, something vast, and there was no precedent for it. Finally, Mira spoke. Her voice was calm, deliberate, clear. "We warned the stars once," she said, "when we launched the Sol Relay project 2 decades ago. We told them we were watching, that Earth was awake. But they ignored us. They thought we were children playing with fire. They were wrong." Her words silenced the room. Generals stared. Leaders leaned closer to their screens. Even the translators hesitated before repeating them in other languages. Mira continued. "They're not gods. They're scientists, soldiers, explorers, just like us. They bleed, they think, they make mistakes. And this was their first one." Elian turned toward her, unsure whether to fear her or follow her. "What are you planning?" Mira looked up at the sky. "I'm going to show them what humanity looks like when it stops hiding its potential." Across the Pacific, hidden beneath the waves, humanity's most secret defense systems stirred. Machines long kept silent began to hum. Satellites in dormant orbit blinked to life. The Helios Array, a global network of quantum defense beacons, had been built quietly under the guise of planetary weather research. But its true purpose was far more extraordinary: to harness the latent energy of Earth's magnetic field, an energy no civilization, not even Earth itself, had ever dared to unleash. As Mira keyed in her authorizations, Elian hesitated. "If we activate that, we'll reveal everything. All our technology, all our power. We'll never be able to hide again." Mira's eyes hardened. "We were never meant to hide. They think humanity is fragile. They think compassion makes us weak. But compassion gives us something no other species has: unity under pressure. Every time we're cornered, we evolve. We survive. And now we rise." Outside, storm clouds thickened. Bolts of lightning cut the sky in clean white arcs as the Helios Array awoke. Oceans began to churn. The magnetic field surrounding Earth pulsed with unseen light. The planet itself seemed to breathe. Elian watched the readings climb higher than physics should allow. "It's responding, Mira. It's actually responding." She smiled faintly, her voice barely a whisper. "Earth is alive. And she's angry." At that exact moment, in the silent darkness beyond Earth's orbit, the alien fleet shimmered into view. Hundreds of vessels, sleek and silver, each the size of a city. They had come not as diplomats but as harvesters. Their scanners lit up the planet's surface, searching, mapping, evaluating. They didn't know what they were standing over. Deep beneath the Pacific, the Helios array synchronized with the planet's magnetic pulse, and the first surge of energy erupted upward, slicing through the atmosphere like a spear of light. The alien ships flickered, their shields crackling. For the first time, they faltered. Mira watched the readings spike and said quietly, "Now they know." We were holding back. As the skies burned with light and the oceans thundered in fury, humanity's message reached the stars, clear, unmistakable, and final. You should have listened when Earth warned you. The night was alive with fire. Not fire from the sun, not fire from our stars, but fire from the planet itself. Across continents, humans watched as the sky cracked with brilliant energy. Aurora-like waves shimmered in impossible colors, arcs of light that no eye had ever seen. And at the heart of it, the Helios array pulsed like a heartbeat, synchronizing with Earth itself. Mira Kael stood on the observation deck of the Arden laboratory, her hair whipping in the wind from the open window. Her eyes glowed with the reflection of the auroras. "We've awoken them," she said almost to herself. "Not them, us." Elian, haggard but resolute, leaned over the console beside her. "We've triggered the first response. Satellite readings show the alien vessels are retreating slightly, but it's temporary. They're testing us, probing us, calculating whether we can be a threat." Mira nodded, tense. "Then we show them what humanity can do." Across the globe, the first coordinated strike began. It wasn't a traditional war. Humanity didn't have fleets capable of interstellar combat, no weapons that could pierce alien shields. What humans did have was cunning, improvisation, and unity, the kind of relentless resilience that had built civilizations from nothing. Drone swarms launched from hidden orbital stations, armed with electromagnetic pulses. Solar collectors, previously designed for energy storage, now fired bursts of concentrated plasma into alien vessels. Quantum disruption grids, experimental and untested, scrambled alien navigational systems. In Arden, Mira's monitors flashed warnings. "Energy levels spiking beyond safe limits," Elian said. His voice trembled not from fear of the aliens, but from awe. "We're actually doing it. We're hitting them." And they were. One by one, alien ships faltered. Fields of shimmered silver began to fracture under bursts of human-engineered energy. The vessels twisted, turned, and flickered as if confused. Humanity's ingenuity was not just surviving, it was taking the fight to the invaders, yet the cost was immediate. Across the oceans, electrical grids surged and failed. Cities plunged into darkness, communications faltered. Even with the Helios array stabilizing energy flows, humans were paying a price. Mira watched as small tremors shook the cliffs below Arden. The Earth was alive, yes, but her awakening was violent. Elian touched her shoulder, voice soft but urgent. "We can't push too far. The planet itself is reacting. This power, it's more than we can fully control." Mira clenched her jaw. "Then we adapt. That's what humans do." For the first time, civilians joined the battle. Amateur engineers, coders, pilots, and sailors coordinated via the Ethernet. Across continents, they hacked, rerouted, and improvised, turning everyday technology into weapons of resistance. Humanity became a living organism of strategy and creativity, every mind contributing to a global response. In the skies above Europe, swarms of drones equipped with reflective alloys confused alien sensors. In the Pacific, floating platforms converted geothermal energy into focused energy beams. In the deserts of Africa, solar mirrors projected concentrated light into orbit, blinding the ships for precious seconds. Every action was minor, but together they formed a symphony of defiance. And all the while, Mira and Elian watched as the alien commanders adjusted. Their movements were no longer smooth and confident, they were careful, almost hesitant. For the first time, the invaders were uncertain, yet Mira knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had struck first, but the universe had not yet responded fully. The alien intelligence, vast and calculating, would adapt. And if humans faltered, if fear overcame courage, the planet itself could become the battlefield of our extinction. She turned to Elian, voice steady but quiet. "We've given them a message, Elian. A message that humans are not weak, that we do not bend to fear, that we are not prey." Elian nodded, eyes reflecting the swirling auroras above. "And the message will echo across the stars," he said. Mira stared out at the sky. It shimmered, trembled, pulsed, a living theater of light and power. she whispered almost as a vow. If they think this is all we've been holding back, they have no idea what humanity can do. The first strike was complete. Humanity had survived the initial test. But this was only the beginning. Somewhere beyond the edges of the solar system, alien minds paused, their sensors reading the chaos, the precision, the unity. They had underestimated one species, a species that had always adapted, always survived, always fought when cornered. And now humanity's fight was not just survival. It was a declaration. We are here. We will not bow. And we will make the stars regret ignoring us. The world had changed in hours. Cities still stood, but shadows of fear moved through their streets like living things. Humanity's first strike had been a success, yes, but it had come at a cost. Electrical grids surged and failed. Satellites blinked in and out. Communications were fractured, leaving millions in isolation. And everywhere people asked the same terrifying question: what next? Mira Kael walked through the ruins of her city as dawn broke. Debris littered the streets, lights flickered, and smoke curled from overturned vehicles. Yet in the chaos there was no panic. Not yet. There was determination, faces of ordinary citizens hardened with purpose, eyes that no longer flinched at the sky. "Elian," she said, turning to her companion, "look at them. Humanity isn't cowering. They're preparing." Elian's gaze swept the streets. Children were helping carry supplies. Engineers climbed to rooftops, checking antennas. Volunteers organized emergency shelters. The pulse of survival beat in every human heart, synchronized across continents, unspoken but undeniable. "They know the danger," Elian said quietly, "and yet they don't run. They fight. Even now." Mira smiled faintly, but her mind raced. Success in the first strike had been a message. But messages can be ignored or misinterpreted. The alien fleet would learn, adapt, and respond, and their next move would be far less restrained. Across the globe, other centers of resistance were already organizing. In Africa, engineers rerouted solar farms to provide bursts of energy directly to orbital drones. In Europe, underground facilities converted nuclear power plants into emergency pulse generators. In the Pacific, islands became launch points for experimental electromagnetic torpedoes. And in Arden, Mira and Elian prepared the most dangerous operation yet, synchronizing the Helios array with Earth's natural magnetic pulses to create a planet-wide defensive lattice. The power required was unprecedented, the risk unimaginable. One miscalculation could destroy not just their lab, but the city itself. Elian placed his hand on Mira's shoulder. "Are you sure this is the right step?" She looked out at the horizon where the sky shimmered faintly with alien sensors still probing Earth. Her jaw tightened. "There is no other step. Either we rise fully or we fall silently, and I refuse to let humanity fall silently." As preparations continued, Mira noticed something unexpected. Fear was there, yes, but it was balanced by hope, by courage, by stubbornness. She realized that humans had a secret weapon the stars could never comprehend. The willingness to act not because they were guaranteed to succeed, but because they refused to fail. Hours passed. Data streamed in. Calculations flickered on glowing monitors, and the Earth itself seemed to hum in anticipation. And then the first wave came. From beyond the edges of the solar system, alien tendrils of energy streaked toward Earth. Not missiles, not beams of destruction, but probes. Devices designed to infiltrate, map, and analyze, each one capable of tearing apart the planet's defenses. Mira and Elian moved like shadows among machines, adjusting frequencies, rerouting energy, firing pulses. Screens flashed with warnings. Overload imminent. Structural integrity compromised. Threshold exceeded. And yet, humanity held. Elian's hand trembled as he touched a console. It's working," he whispered. "The lattice is stabilizing. The planet is holding." Mira's gaze never left the sky. "Earth is fighting," she said softly. "And so are we." Hours stretched into a day, each minute a battle. Civilians, scientists, soldiers, and engineers became one organism of resistance. Streets, labs, and hidden stations pulsed with energy, noise, and determination. The aliens had underestimated something crucial. Humans didn't fight out of fear or greed or ambition. They fought out of love. Love for each other, love for home, love for life itself. By the end of the day, the first counterstrike had repelled the alien probes. Ships flickered and pulled back, recalculating. Humanity had won, yes, but at a visible cost. Cities were scarred, skies bore streaks of unnatural light, and millions were exhausted physically and emotionally. Mira turned to Elian, exhaustion lining her features. "This is only the beginning," she said, voice quiet but unwavering. "They'll come again. And next time, they'll bring more than probes." Elian nodded, eyes haunted but resolute. "Then we'll be ready." Above them, the sky pulsed once more, quiet now, as if acknowledging the defiance below. Humanity had survived the first true assault. The stars had underestimated them, and in every scarred street, every weary face, every beating heart, humanity had made a promise: we will endure, we will rise, and the universe will know what we are capable of. The sky was no longer just a sky. It had become a battlefield, alive with a violence humanity had never witnessed. Ships of silver and shadow appeared beyond the edge of the atmosphere, their movements deliberate, calculating, and merciless. The alien fleet had returned, not with probes this time, but with intent. Across the globe, alarms screamed, the world waking to the realization that survival would not come easily. Cities that had only moments ago celebrated their ingenuity now braced for annihilation. Mira Kael stood at the top of the Arden laboratory, watching the first wave descend. "They've learned from our strikes," she said, voice tight. "Every move we made, every trick we deployed, they've adapted. And now they're coming for us in full." Elian joined her, his usual calm replaced by tense urgency. "They're not testing us anymore. This is real. This is war," Mira nodded. "Then we fight like humans always have. Not because we must, but because we refuse to yield." The first impact struck the Pacific, miles from the shore but powerful enough to ripple the ocean like a storm. Tremors raced along the coasts and coastal cities evacuated in chaos. Humanity's defensive systems responded immediately. Orbital drones fired electromagnetic pulses. Plasma bursts launched from hidden platforms, and the Helios array synchronized with Earth's magnetic field to stabilize the planet's shield. Still, the aliens were relentless. Their vessels moved with a precision that suggested intelligence far beyond human understanding. Energy beams tore through clouds, searching for weak points, scanning, calculating. Humanity's ingenuity was working, but only barely. In Europe, engineers rerouted nuclear power plants to create focused bursts of energy, throwing off alien targeting systems. In Asia, massive solar arrays projected blinding light into space, distorting enemy sensors. And everywhere, ordinary people risked their lives to reinforce defenses, moving with quiet courage that Mira marveled at. Elian's hands flew across consoles. "Mira, we're getting feedback." "Some of the ships. They're reacting strangely, almost hesitant." Mira's eyes narrowed. "They've never faced humans like this before. They expected chaos, panic, fear. Instead, we fight together. We adapt faster than they can calculate." Hours passed in a blur of sound, light, and tension. The alien fleet probed weaknesses, then retreated slightly, only to strike again moments later. The sky ignited with arcs of energy. The oceans churned, and Earth itself seemed to pulse with living power. And yet amidst the chaos, Mira noticed something extraordinary. Civilians in remote areas, villagers, fishermen, students, were improvising defenses using tools that had never been intended for war. Boats were transformed into energy platforms, communication towers into signal disruptors, and even children played a role, monitoring drones and relaying coordinates. Humanity had become a singular intelligent organism, moving with fluid coordination across continents. Elian's voice broke through her focus. "Mira, there's something wrong with the Northern Fleet." Energy readings. "They're collapsing. Their shields are fluctuating." Mira's heart pounded. "It's working. Our strikes, the lattice, it's destabilizing them. But they'll retaliate harder, faster. We need to be ready for the next wave." And the retaliation came sooner than expected. Alien vessels converged on the polar regions, unleashing concentrated energy bursts that tore through the ice and shook the planet. Cities across the globe trembled, and yet humans did not falter. Engineers, soldiers, and civilians worked in tandem, diverting energy, repairing damage, and adapting strategies in real time. Mira's gaze swept across the global command network displayed on her monitors. "Look at them," she whispered. "Every corner of the planet, every mind, every heart. They fight as one, We are stronger together than any alien fleet imagined. Elian placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice soft but steady. And we've only just begun to fight. The stars will see humanity's fury, and they'll remember it forever. Above the Earth, the alien fleet began to stagger. Their formations broke under the relentless ingenuity of a species they had underestimated. Humanity had not only survived the first strike, they had turned the tide of the battle, not through superior firepower but through adaptability, courage, and unity. Mira turned to the observation deck, watching the lights flicker across the horizon. We warned them once, she said softly. We told the stars what we were holding back. They ignored us now. They'll pay the price. The world had changed. Humanity had survived the reckoning storm. But the war was far from over. The stars had underestimated one truth above all. Humans were relentless. Humans were unpredictable. And humans never surrendered. The sky had been conquered for now. Humanity had survived the first full-scale retaliation, but the battle left scars that went beyond shattered cities and fractured power grids. Fear lingered, heavy and quiet, in the hearts of every survivor. Yet from that fear arose something stronger: resolve. Mira Kael stood at the edge of the Arden cliffs, wind tearing at her coat, her eyes reflecting the turbulent sea. We've defended Earth, she said quietly, almost to herself. But we cannot stop here. They'll regroup. They'll strike harder. We must reach them before they strike again. Elian, weary but steadfast, nodded. Then we take the fight to them. Beyond the atmosphere, beyond their sensors, beyond their understanding of what humans can do. Across the globe, humanity prepared for the boldest step yet, deploying the Icarus initiative, a fleet of experimental ships capable of sustaining deep space combat for the first time. Built in secrecy over decades, these vessels combined Earth's ingenuity with raw audacity. Each ship was armed not with weapons of mass destruction, but with adaptive energy disruptors designed to exploit weaknesses in alien technology. As the launch sequence began, Mira and Elian coordinated from the command center, their faces lit by screens filled with live feeds. We're counting on precision, Mira said. Every calculation matters. One mistake could doom the mission. And the planet. Elian's fingers flew across the controls. We've trained for this. We've survived worse odds than they could ever imagine. Humanity isn't just a species. We're a force. Above them, the first fleet of Icarus vessels lifted from hidden stations, piercing the sky like silver arrows. Humanity's message was clear. Earth would not wait to be destroyed. Humanity would strike first, boldly and without hesitation. The journey into deep space was tense and silent. Every system monitored alien energy signatures. Every sensor scanned for threats. Mira watched the stars slip past, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on her chest. Every human life on Earth, every sacrifice made in the cities and villages, now rode on their success. Then, on the edge of the solar system, the alien fleet appeared, far larger than any human mind could grasp. A living armada pulsing with energy, scanning, probing, prepared to annihilate everything in its path. Mira swallowed, her voice firm despite the tremor in her chest. They underestimated us. They assumed fear would paralyze us. They assumed we'd cower. They were wrong. Elian's voice was quiet but resolute. Let's show them why. The Icarus vessels split into coordinated formations, adaptive energy disruptors firing in precise bursts. Alien shields flickered under the barrage, their advanced calculations failing to predict humanity's ingenuity. But the aliens responded, sending waves of energy that threatened to tear through human ships. In the chaos, human pilots acted with courage and clarity, sacrificing vessels to protect others, improvising maneuvers, and turning desperation into strategy. Mira's fingers flew over her console, coordinating every strike, rerouting energy, and predicting alien responses before they could occur. Hours passed in a blur of light, heat, and relentless calculation. Ships were lost, crews vanished, but the fleet pressed forward, refusing to yield. Humanity's ingenuity and willpower surged like a tidal wave against the alien armada. And then, something remarkable happened. The aliens paused. Their formation staggered. Their energy pulsed irregularly. They had never encountered a species that combined such adaptability, courage, and sacrifice. Humanity's unexpected unity had fractured their calculations. Mira exhaled, a mixture of relief and exhaustion. They're learning, but they cannot adapt fast enough, not to us, not yet. Elian looked at her, awe and pride reflected in his eyes. We're doing it, Mira. We're proving what humans can do, and they'll remember this. For the first time, humans realized something profound. Their power was not in their weapons, nor their technology. Their power was in their unity and their courage, in their refusal to surrender even when the odds seemed impossible. And as the Icarus Fleet pressed further into enemy territory, humanity sent a message deeper than words. We warned you once. You ignored us. Now the universe will know the price of underestimating Earth. The stars themselves seemed to shimmer in response, as if acknowledging that humanity had stepped into a new era, one where survival was no longer enough, where courage and unity could bend even the vastness of space to human will. Mira turned back to Elian, determination burning in her eyes. Tomorrow we strike harder. Tomorrow we show them everything we've been holding back. And when we do, Elian finished her sentence, voice steady and unwavering, they will pay the price. The Icarus Fleet surged forward, light trailing behind it, humanity's defiance blazing across the void. And somewhere in the silence of space, alien sensors registered a truth they could not ignore. The blackness of space stretched endlessly, but it was no longer empty. The alien fleet, vast and foreboding, glimmered with calculated menace. Humanity's Icarus vessels cut through the void, silver streaks of defiance carrying the hopes, sacrifices, and courage of billions below. Mira Kael stood on the command deck of the flagship Aurora, eyes locked on the alien armada. Every sensor blared warnings. Every screen flickered with calculations that should have been impossible. And yet humans persisted. Elian, she said softly, voice tight with urgency. This is it. Everything we've built, every life we've risked, it all comes down to this moment. Elian placed a hand over hers. We've survived worse. We've adapted faster than they can calculate. Humanity doesn't back down. Not now. Not ever. And then it began. The alien fleet fired, beams of energy that sliced through the darkness, striking Icarus vessels with precision. Explosions bloomed like dark stars and ships vanished in streaks of fire. Yet humanity's response was immediate, coordinated, relentless. The adaptive disruptors worked flawlessly, cracking alien shields and forcing their vessels to stagger, falter, and hesitate. But it wasn't just technology. Humanity fought with heart. Pilots sacrificed themselves to protect others. Engineers rerouted power mid-battle. Civilians on Earth monitored systems, guided strikes, and calculated paths in real time. Every human was part of a single organism of defiance. Hours passed. Stars flickered with energy bursts, shadows of destruction casting fear across the void. Mira's heart ached with every loss, but it burned brighter with every victory. Every ship that survived, every pulse that struck true. And then, something remarkable happened. The alien commanders, once cold and precise, began to retreat. Their formation fractured. Their energy pulsed erratically. They had underestimated the most dangerous force in the universe, human will. Mira exhaled, voice trembling but steady. We've broken them. They thought we would cower. They thought we would fail. They were wrong. Elian looked at her, eyes reflecting the brilliant chaos outside, and they'll never forget it. From Earth, transmissions streamed into space. Thousands of voices unified, declarations of defiance, messages of courage, warnings to any who would ever underestimate humanity. We warned you once. You ignored us. Now you pay the price. The alien fleet disintegrated in patterns of energy and light, retreating into the void. Humanity had not only survived, they had struck the first decisive blow in a war that would be remembered across galaxies. And yet, amidst triumph, there was grief. Every human life lost, every city scarred, every family shattered. They weighed on Mira and Elian like stones. But from that grief came clarity. Humanity's strength was not invincible. It was forged in the willingness to act, to sacrifice, to rise even when hope seemed impossible. As the Aurora returned to Earth orbit, Mira looked down at the planet glowing beneath them. Cities flickered back to life, oceans shimmered, skies cleared, and the scars of battle began to fade. Humanity had survived. Humanity had risen. Elian touched her shoulder gently. We did it, he said softly. They thought they were gods. We showed them what humans are. Mira smiled, tears streaking her face. We weren't holding back. Not then, not ever. And now, the universe knows the cost of underestimating Earth. Across the planet, people emerged from shelters, ruins, and darkness. Their eyes lifted to the sky, not in fear, but in awe. Humanity had fought together, and the memory of that unity, courage, and defiance would never fade. And in the silent reaches of space, among the stars that had once ignored Earth, a message remained. This species is not to be tested. This species is not to be underestimated. Humanity holds power in every mind, every heart, every soul. We are awake, and we are endless. Mira stood at the observation deck, the wind from space brushing against the ship's hull. She whispered to herself softly, fiercely. The stars thought we were small. They thought we would hide, but we never did, and we never will. Somewhere beyond the edges of the known universe, alien fleets would remember the day humanity rose. They would remember the courage of ordinary people, the ingenuity of a species unwilling to bend, and the price of ignoring Earth and humanity. Humanity would continue, stronger, wiser, united, and forever vigilant. The war was far from over, but the lesson had been written in fire and light. Earth warned the stars. They ignored us now. They paid the price.